Hey everyone, here's a 12 Algeth'ar I did on the PTR. The only affix on here was fortified. Let's talk about talents for a second. So, running pretty standard setup. I am running the Moonfire talents just for some extra damage. Also, rage generation. More rage generation means I can raise more, and with the with the season 2 tier set and raise doing 20% more damage, I figured this would be pretty good, especially because we're going to be getting more Ursoc's Fury value. If you want to know what I think about Bear going into season 4, I think it's gonna be good. I mean, I think it's good in season 3, gonna be good in season 4. If you enjoy Bear, I think you should go ahead and play it. I do pick Haste here. Do I think Haste is the best? No, I mean, yeah, I mean it's good. Haste is good. You could go Verse is good. I was just playing around with all the stats, and I think Haste is pretty good for damage. I do stealth pass these skitterflies here just so I can pull them in a little bit later, just so they don't start leaping and stacking their rage. I just want to delay the rage stacking. So I see here I pull them. For trinkets, I am trying out the Decoration of Flame and the Resonator trinket from Uldaman. Uh, so I don't think Decoration of Flame is that fantastic. It's going to be pretty easy to get since it's a non-rare drop from Aranog, which is the first boss from the first raid. And then the Resonator Trinket, Resonator Trinket's really interesting because it's similar to Splinter and all like the absorb trinkets, but it's passive. The problem with it is it can proc at really bad times. Like it could proc off of fall damage and be useless. It could proc at the end of a pull when everything's dead. So in those specific scenarios, it's really bad. But if every time it procs and it gets good value, it's not. It's actually in terms of damage, it's not that bad. It's, I think it's going to be a decent trinket. I might use it if I get it. But yeah, first pull Algeth'ar always really fun. I did hit a mill DPS at the start. In a pull like this, and a pull this big, I just thrash until I get to 3 stacks, and then with this tier set, I'm just spamming raise as much as I can, and then dumping any excess rage on Iron Fur. I did end up getting 2 incarns here. I sent incarn near the end of this pull because I'm pretty confident that it's going to be up during the scary part of the first boss, which is when all of the little lashers become active and start applying the poison to the tank. One thing that you can do if this overgrown ancient boss is giving you troubles, you can actually run remove corruption, and you can self-dispel the poison whenever you get to a scary amount of stacks. I pretty sure I'm actually not even running it in this key because I'm pretty confident I'll live it. Or yeah, so right off the bat, this boss really the only time that's ever going to be scary is when he summons the tree mob that applies the bleed. It does do quite a bit of damage, but mainly it's when those little lashers come out and start applying the poison. That's kind of when you're going to want to send your incarn and your major defensives. But here, I think Bear's actually really good in this fight because of the target count. You're going to be maximizing your rage gen from Blood Frenzy a lot of the time, and every time you thrash and raise, you're getting massive absorb shields just because of the sheer amount of mobs. You can pretty much lock down the Ancient Branch as Bear by yourself if you just rotate through Kick, Incap, and Typhoon if you have to. So right here, he's going to cast Burst Forth. All these ads are going to become active. This is where I'm going to pop Incarn and thrash, just raising as much as possible. Again, because of the target count and whatnot, we're just generating so many absorbs. And as you can see, our Resonator Trinket procced right there. We have 42 stacks of the poison, but doesn't even matter. Using those free Frenzied Regens is really nice. He does cast Bark Breaker, which makes us take 100% increased physical damage, I believe, but that can be scary if you're, not really watching Iron for stacks and not defensive, but that's not really what's going to kill you on this fight. It's going to be the poison. But yeah, I think Bear's looking pretty good. I was testing a bunch of dungeons, and the only dungeon that I'm kind of worried about is Uldaman, just because of all of the bleeds and whatnot. The good thing about this season is a lot of the scary damage is either avoidable, kickable, kiteable, stunnable. Um, so there is going to be some counterplay to the dungeons that I think a lot of people are going to find difficult. Algeth'ar in particular, I don't really think has that many pain points. There are definitely a few, like I guess this boss, Vexus, and I guess potentially Croth on higher tyrannical keys could be fairly difficult. But Croth got nerfed pretty severely. His bleed does quite a bit less damage, so the only boss that I'm kind of worried about is Vexus, just from getting one tapped by his frontal. This mob, the Guardian Sentry, his Storm Slash hits pretty ridiculously hard. I'm gonna try to defensive every single one if I can. So this first one I had Barkskin. My Trinket also procced. For the next one I could Rage the Sleeper. I also have Trinket here. You can pretty safely soak or just tank that knockback, but I typically like to LOS it just so I don't end up being low when I get Storm Slashed. The only reason I tanked that one is because I had my Resonator Trinket procced. So yeah, really gonna want to make sure that we're at 100% HP before every time I get hit by Storm Slash. So that's when I use my Frenzied Regen. Right here I'll have Barkskin. Yeah, do not be afraid to send CDs here, like Incarn or Survival Instincts. But yeah, like the good thing about this tier set is with the 15% max HP, it's going to help us survive those magic tank busters, or rather not get one shot by them. So for this next one, yeah, Rage the Sleeper. One thing is, in this dungeon, there's a lot of like single target big hits, so taking Pulverize is not a bad idea. I mean, you get value on Ancient, Croth, Vexus, this mob. Pulverize, I think Pulverize is probably better than running double SI if you're gonna, if you're under the assumption that you're gonna need it on a single target. 45-second cooldown, 35% DR is pretty good. Pretty good. These little birds, they cast Peck on you, which is it's a bleed. It can do a decent amount of damage if it stacks up, but it does way less damage than I remember from Season 1. A bear is stronger now, so it makes sense. But yeah, as you can see, the damage is pretty solid. I mean, 400k on this target count, not terrible. I am an Incarn. One thing you can do with these birds coming in is you can just start tagging them with Moonfire. You'll get some initial aggro and start killing them a little faster. If you guys want to know like what I'm potentially might spend my dinars on, I'm not really the kind of player to buy what's 100% optimal. I kind of just like to buy whatever I think I would enjoy the most, and I'm kind of looking at Rage Heart. I think Rage Heart's still going to be a great trinket. If we're talking about defensive trinkets, I still think Rage Heart's the best. It's great for damage. It's not the best damage trinket, especially now that there's stuff like Boon, but in terms of absorbing, there is not a competition. Like every trinket I've tested doesn't even come close to the amount of absorbing that Rage Heart can do. And then for my second item, it's kind of tough because I don't really know. I think Aeronog Ring could be good. Maybe and then crafting the Flaring Cowl, or if you have like a trinket that does consistent fire damage, it could be good. Reason why Aeronog Ring is also good is because it's a very rare item, so it could be a pretty competitive item, and it might take a very long time to get. And then I was also thinking about maybe just buying a weapon like Rashawn. We do have the choice between Rashawn, which is Fyrax's weapon, and then we also can choose between Rashok's weapon, which I don't actually remember what it's called. It's like Jarin or something, that has the on-use fire damage. that. So I simmed it. Roshan sims higher in AoE, but Jajarin sims higher in single target. So also Jajarin is a very rare item, so same thing, could take a little bit longer to get. So this boss, just like every other boss, you really want to be defensiving every Savage Peck. I do definitely feel the nerf. I know it's only a 12, which is a 22, and it's also not tyrannical, but I don't really ever feel in danger on this fight. I actually feel like the AoE explosion he does more damage than the Savage Peck. So yeah, I pop everything on the pole here just for maximum damage, Bark Skin, Rage of Sleeper, and Incarn. I do end up holding my Trinket just in case, because I popped everything on the pole, I might be a little dry for a bit. I let my stacks of Thrash fall off there, which is not ideal. Do not do that. But yeah, as you can see, we're doing 180k single target. From what I've seen, Bear's single target seems really good. AoE damage is not as high as the other tanks I've seen, but in terms of single target, I think it's looking pretty good. Especially if you're playing around the tier set and balling a lot, you're gonna definitely be pumping on bosses. So yeah, Savage Peck there, so I popped the Trinket. Good thing about Decoration of Flame is that it has primary stat on it. But in terms of the damage it does and the absorbing of the proc or the on use, it doesn't even compare to like Rage Heart. So yeah, we're gonna have to do this whole fight down a player, which is not great. So in a scenario like this, where I think the next Savage Peck I might not have a defensive up, or no, I guess we will. But if you're gonna get hit by Tank Buster and you don't have a defensive, you would just Frenzied Regen. As long as you don't get one shot, you should be fine. The Trinket combo that I was really enjoying on the PTR, I don't think it's going to be ideal, but I really like the way it felt, was Rage Heart plus Resonator. I don't really think Resonator's super fantastic if we're comparing it to Raid Trinkets, but I just really like the idea of a passive absorb Trinket, and it feels really good when it procs. It just feels even worse, I guess, when it procs to, at the end of a pull or whatever. So yeah, during this phase, you pick up an orb and you get haste, and you can't be knocked back. You can't pick up 2 orbs, unfortunately, so I was trying to do it here, but it does not work. But right here, Resonator procced, and like when it procs, the absorb you get isn't fantastic compared to Rage Heart or Splinter or any other absorb shield, even Grandness and during scale. But if the damage it does is, yeah, it's not terrible. I think I'm actually probably just gonna run the same setup I run on live, which is Rage Heart and Cheat Death. You will be able to do hard mode Dawn, so you'll be able to get a decent item level Cheat Death. Not insane, but I think Cheat Death is so nice to have in a high key. It allows you to make a human mistake, saves the wipe, and I think that's invaluable. Also, the route I'm doing, it's basically just what I did in Season 1. I don't think it's 100% ideal, but it's going to be good enough for everything that I want to accomplish. Yeah, ending the fight at 137k damage, I think that's pretty decent. I wish I would click on my damage breakdown just so I could show you guys how high Maul is. You really want to be mauling as much as possible. Try to maintain 1 stack of Iron Fur and then send everything into Maul. Even if, you could just, if you're in Barkskin, you might not even need to Iron Fur, just Maul instead. So here I'm doing a huge Forager pull. This pull, if you send a lot of defensives on Croth and you're going in here pretty dry, this pack can actually just shred you as a tank. especially because there's a battle axe in here. But yeah, if you guys didn't see that, they did change the way the Scepter's Mystic Blast works. It's no longer interruptible. You need to stun it, incap it, typhoon it away. They did nerf its damage by a significant amount, and honestly, I've seen keys as high as like a 16 fortified, and it goes off and it doesn't kill anybody. So still interrupt it, because like especially in this pull, like there's nothing else to stop, so might as well. But if it does go off, it doesn't seem like it's the end of the world, unless there's other trickle damage in the pack, I suppose. You can LOS the Ravager's charge, which you probably should do. At this key level, though, it doesn't, I guess, really matter. It is kind of annoying fighting one mob, but I see a lot of people skipping this next pack, which I do think you should do. It's kind of just cancer. 4 mobs, not that efficient, but PTR, who cares? Just kill it. In terms of interrupting, now that you can't interrupt the Scepters, I typically just send my interrupt on Surge. Surge seems to do a lot of damage to the group. I'm holding Incarn here because the next pull is going to be pretty big and scary. I'm pretty sure we lust it. Next pull is going to be the one with all the tomes that cast Monotonous Lecture. See right there, perfect example. My Resonator procs when the pack dies. Okay, no, I thought we were going right here, but I guess we're just doing the Ravager pull. I think we probably should have gone right, skipped this pull, and then lusted like 2 packs or something, especially because I had cooldowns. But this is fine. Yeah, spamming raise here, as many raises as I can. I am overcapping rage here. Should just be sending some Iron Furs to avoid that. With Thorns of Iron, you're still doing damage every time you Iron Fur. Yeah, as you can see, everything's dead, but of course the Ravager's alive. Our Warlock is trying to LOS. I guess they're just a little slow, though. This next platform area where there's 3 packs, I think it's like a perfect showcase of why Vengeance Demon Hunter is so good right now. You can just pull all 3 of them and lock them down, but as a Guardian Druid, you incap roar once, you typhoon once, and then it's pretty much just pray your group covers the rest. So instead of pulling all 3 here, I just end up pulling 2 packs. Don't have Incarn here, so it's a little scary, but I do have Barkskin, Rage of Sleeper, Decoration of Flame, and my Resonator proc, so I'm pretty much unkillable right now. Incarn comes up, just going to send it, start raising as much as I can. What's going to kill you in these packs is most likely the Battle Axes. Their bleed that they cast on the tank, the initial hit is very hard, and then the bleed it cast is also a lot of damage, and it can stack, so if you're pulling multiple of them and you get 2 stacks, it can be pretty deadly. Yeah, so I'm going to try to train as fast as I can here just because of Incarn, which is rolling. Bear still pretty unkillable with Incarn. Yeah, really, in this area specifically, you're going to just want to be utilizing Incap, Roar, and Typhoon as much as you possibly can. This next boss, I remember back in Season 1, the frontal that Vexus did a ton of damage. So, gonna want to make sure you have a defensive up for every single one of those. Pulverize in this fight's really good, because pretty sure with Pulverize and like a defensive Trinket, you can cover every single high damaging tank thing that the boss can do. Yeah, see right here. Here, I'll go back just so we can see it. So I'm pretty sure this was like the whole platform area. Raise, Raise should, I mean, with this tier set, Raise should almost 100% of the time be your top damage. And then as we can see, Moonfire, just 2 points in Galactic Guardian Twin Moonfire is a huge portion of our damage. Thorns of Iron, Thrash Mangle, and then yeah, see the Resonator Trinket did pretty good. It might look good, like if it procs in a pull, it might look good, but when you look at the overall at the end of a dungeon, it typically falls off. But as you can see, Decoration Flame is even lower. So Vexus here, going to open up with Taunt Moonfire, and then just go back into the normal rotation. I do have Incarn here, so pretty safe at the start here. Trinket procs, Resonator. Get to 3 stacks of Thrash as fast as I can, and then it's just pretty much... I like to maul, mangle, or mangle, maul, mangle, maul, mangle, maul. That way you're maximizing rage generation, and you're also still getting Vicious Cycle value. And then only thrashing to refresh the stacks of Thrash and Incarn at least. Yeah, so for that frontal, I had Trinket. Next damage instance, I'll have Bark Skin up. A lot of the time, I will send like Bark Skin, Rage of Sleeper for damage because I'm running Brambles, but if I'm going into a fight that I know is going to have high instance of predictable damage that I probably want a defensive, I'll just end up saving it. Like right there. I did pop Barkskin before I soaked that 3rd orb because if you guys didn't know, every time you soak an orb, you get a stacking damage increase from the next orb you soak. And for my testing, it's like 1 stack is whatever, 2 stacks whatever, 3 okay, 4 is where you start feeling it. So yeah, I have Rage Sleepy here. There's like a strat where you let 1 orb go in around 2 to 3 minutes into the fight, because I'm pretty sure that changes his like spell queuing, because the boss eventually will do an overlap of mana bombs and the knockback, which the chance that you die there is incredibly high. And if you let the boss soak an orb, it'll disrupt that. I don't know how to do that, but I know that's a thing. So yeah, here, single target, maul, significant portion of our single target, mangle. A lot of that is coming from Incarn with mangle, maul, mangle, maul, mangle, maul. Thorns of Iron. Reason Thorns of Iron is so high is because when you're in Incarn and you're mangling and mauling, you're going to be generating so much rage that you kind of have to dump some of it into Iron Fur, which means Thorns of Iron is going to be pretty significant in terms of damage. This pull has, I believe, yeah, this pack has 2 battle axes, so in terms of tank damage, it is a pretty scary pull. And you also do have a lot of mobs casting Surge. I do see a lot of people skipping this pull as well. One thing that's really annoying about battle axes is if they cast their bleed as they die, the bleed doesn't go away. So I think it might happen here where the whole pack's dead, but I still have 2 stacks of bleed, and you kind of just have to sit in bear form and pray. I probably should have just trinketed there, but oh well. I remember these next mobs, the ones that cast the whirlwind, smacking the tanks really hard. It's pretty crazy how much better bear feels in season 4 than it does in season 1. I remember like fighting tooth and nail to live. Yeah, like this pack right here. Like I probably would have dropped down to like 20% HP right there from just getting hit by those 2 mobs. So just here kicking the invokers. Ideally, you let the arcane bomb go off because it'll put a circle around a player that'll deal an explosion, and if enemies are within that circle, they'll also take the damage from the explosion. So ideally, don't want to kick Astral Bomb. You want to be kicking Arcane Missiles. As for Astral Whirlwinds, you can stop it with Incap and Typhoon, but they cast so frequently that you're never going to be able to permanently CC them. the thing is, like, just don't stand in it. Like, I don't think it's that hard. It does do a lot of damage though, so even as a tank, as you can see right there, like, just getting a few ticks really hurt. In like my actual route, I don't actually pull this pack. I skip it and just pull extra stuff throughout the dungeon, but I was just playing around here. But as you can see, like, in Bear's 3 target is pretty crazy because in Incarn, Mangle hits 3 targets. So if you just Mangle raise, you're gonna be like, Raze is gonna hit insanely hard because of Vicious Cycle, and so is Mangle. And the amount of rage you're gonna be generating is so high that if you just Mangle raise, you can also just kind of spam Iron Fur. You're gonna be at the armor cap as well, so you're also blasting with Thorns of Iron. Celestial Shield does put a shield on a mob. I don't think it does anything else. It's not that scary. Just kind of elongates the pack a little bit. This next boss coming up, they changed it. If you guys haven't seen it, it went from like one of the worst fights to probably the worst fight ever. Positioning as a tank on this next boss is kind of awkward. I think it's better to actually pull it back. I don't do that here. I don't even know. This might have been my first time doing this dungeon. I don't really remember. This was like day 1 of the PTR or something. But yeah, you'll see here 2 of like the arcane things come down at the start. Right there. Those are going to shoot out little blobs. If you get hit by it, you're going to get a stack and take big damage. Once you hit 3 stacks, you're going to drop one of those puddles on the ground. So yeah, right there, somebody got targeted by energy bomb. So if you're at 2 stacks, like, you know that when that explodes, you're going to drop a puddle. So you want to try to be cautious of where you're placing those. Also, another thing is the frontal that this boss does casts incredibly quickly. So if you're pretty far away and the boss targets you, you're like guaranteed to get hit. So if you're playing a ranged spec, you're gonna want to try to be in melee. Other than that, like, this fight's really, as a tank at least, is pretty easy. The big thing is just positioning the boss. You kind of want to position the boss in a way where it's going to be as easy as possible for your DPS and healer to dodge the orbs, because that's kind of how you're going to wipe. Yeah, I see the Warlock in chat saying entrance. I do agree. I think there's just more area back there than here. I do eventually move the boss. Yeah, I just ran into an orb like a Giga Chad there. Yeah, but that's pretty much dungeon. I mean, this boss fight's the same thing. Just dodge orbs, drop puddles in good spots, position the boss. I do have a few other dungeons recorded. I don't actually know which ones, though. I think I have a Ruby Life Pools. I don't know if I already said this, but I think for me, the scariest dungeon is going to be Oldamon. A lot of the dungeons have like very specific parts of them that can be scary, like Ruby Life Pools and the initial casters that cast Ice Bolt on the tank. First boss of Ruby Life Pools, second boss Ruby Life Pools can be pretty scary. Even last boss can be pretty scary. A lot of magic damage. Azure Vaults, you have the mobs that cast Ice Cutter. Ice Cutter is not terrible because you can just kite them. I mean, you can't kite the big guy, but the little ones you can. Yeah, as you can see, like, this fight can get really hectic pretty quickly if people are getting hit by the orbs. It can be hard to dodge them, though, because if an orb is coming through the boss, it's virtually impossible to see it until it's too late. I'm actually surprised of how tight the timer was there. Only 2 minutes to spare. Yeah, but 254k overall. There's the damage breakdown. Raise, a lot of damage. Moonfire, a lot of damage. Thrash. Thrash is uncapped, so in a dungeon like Algeth'ar, where the pulls are usually so big, it's not really surprising that Thrash is going to be extremely high. As you can see, like Trinket damage. Decoration Flame actually not terrible. Not nearly as high as Rage Hard B. Resonance kind of popping off. There's the healing done. So yeah, Urshok's Fury with this tier set and the increased damage to Maul and Raise, Urshok's Fury is going to be significantly higher than it otherwise would be. But yeah, look at the trinkets. We got the Resonator trinket and Decoration Flame doing pretty solid. Rage Heart probably would have done like, I don't even know, maybe 20 mil. Like, it's pretty crazy with how much more absorbing that trinket does, and it's only on a 1 minute 30 cooldown, so I really like Resonator though. I just like the idea of it. I don't know if it's actually that fantastic though. But yeah, here's the build I ran. Again, you can take Remove Corruption for the tree boss if you want. Like if your group doesn't have a poison spell, you basically have to. Another thing is like I'm running Gory Fur in the top right. That was just more so testing, just kind of playing around on the PTR, trying out different talents. You could run double SI, regrowth. You could even put a point into Fury of Nature, I think it's called. The one that gives you 10% Moonfire damage or Arcane damage. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, I think Bear's going to be pretty solid. Do I think it's going to be meta? Probably not. I think Vengeance is just going to take the spot. And Guardian will kind of be in a similar position to where it is right now, where you could definitely do high keys on it. You could definitely get title. I just don't think it's going to be played in the world's highest keys. Unless you're Squish Vegan, he'll probably make it work. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.